you?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us. Lucy is the co-founder of Rhode Island's first kombucha producer and brewer, which is super exciting.
Yes, yeah, very exciting.
Awesome. Luluna. So we have a few here today. So we're going to show you what it is, sample, and talk all about the business, what it was like kickstarting it. You are based in Pawtucket, which is awesome. So Lucy, tell me a little bit about how you got into kombucha and how you brought forth this business.
Sure. So I love kombucha. I drink it all the time. I started brewing it years back. I was brewing it for myself. My sisters, my friends requested some. So it's been a lot of years fine-tuning recipes, ratios. So that's where we started, is in the homebrew side of it, how a lot of it always starts. And then we moved to the mainland. We started out on Block Island. We moved to the mainland, built out a brewery this past June. So we're there brewing kombucha in Pawtucket. It's a beautiful thing.
Which I just think is so fun, so exciting. So people might have seen kombucha in stores, they might have heard people talking about it, but some people still might not know what it is. So talk to us a little bit about what kombucha is, and we'll start there.
Sure. So kombucha is fermented tea. It's a probiotic drink. So it's naturally effervescent. There's some fizz in there, and it feeds the good bacteria in your gut. It also tastes really good. So we flavor it with fresh fruit and herbs to create different flavors. So a bubbly tea drink, and really nothing like you've ever had before. So it's a unique first-time experience if you haven't had it.
So let's crack open some of yours here,
Sure.
and then we'll continue there, because I'm like, why would we just let this sit here?
Sure.
And talk to us a little bit about your kombucha specifically, because you're the first to do this in Rhode Island. And your flavors, I think, are a little bit different than what other people might see from other places.
Sure, yeah. So this flavor we have here, this is a mix of fresh strawberries. There's strawberries. It's called Strawberry Fields. Strawberries, sage, holy basil, which is also known as tulsi, and lemon balm. So it has a sweet, like first when it touches your palate, and then an herbal afternote. So it's a nice, sweet, smooth flavor. And our kombucha, you'll notice like a very fresh taste.
Yeah.
And that's because we use, fresh, local, and when it's in season, fruit and herbs. And yeah, so we use the actual fruit rather than the concentrate. A lot of companies use concentrate, so ours has that more smooth, palatable experience, which is great.
And you work to try to make this organic too, correct?
Correct, yep. So everything that we use is organic, down to the tea that's used, the fruit that's used, organic cane sugar is used initially in the first process of the fermentation, and then as well as local. So the spring water that is used is local. It's from New England springs. The tea as well is sourced locally, and we also have a seasonal flavor. And that changes every few months or so, and that highlights what's in season in New England, or whatever you can find in the winter months as well. So right now we have a pear jasmine. Pears are a great winter fruit, and it has a soft floral taste with the jasmine and the green tea, and then the sweetness of the pears. So we always have a rotating flavor on tap at our fill stations to keep the fill station fun and exciting.
I just think that this is so, I mean, I'm kind of addicted to kombucha. Like, I try to not overdo it, but yours is so refreshing and tasty. There we go. I'm just gonna have you come closer to me.
Sure.
I need to hear more about the kombucha. So talk to me just a little bit about, you mentioned the fill stations. Talk to me about how you developed the process and how people can find your kombucha.
Sure. So on our website, there's a list of our retailers, and it differentiates how it's served at those retailers. So what we have is fill stations, and we chose the route of fill stations is because there's a lot of single-use waste in beverage companies or really any type of food company. So how it works is you go up to the fill station, you choose your size bottle. This is one size, this is 16 ounces. This is a growlette, that's 32 ounces. So you first choose the size, then you choose your flavor. So it's a station where you're filling up the kombucha fresh from the tap. And when you come back to refill it, you're not paying for that glassware again, so you're saving saving money, and you're also saving the environment as you fill up, because you're not using containers over. You're using the container over and over rather than a new bottle each time you drink the beverage.
I think that's great. So let's talk a little bit about how this developed. You said you started in Block Island, kind of doing this on your own thing, and then you've developed slowly, and not necessarily slowly. It seems kind of fast almost. And now you've worked your way through to having your own mill, essentially, this own brewing station in Pawtucket, which is kind of like the brewing spot. Now it seems like in Rhode Island, right? Whether it's beer or it's kombucha, it's kind of the place to be. Talk to us a little bit about what that process was like for you, because you're the first one to do this in Rhode Island. What was that like for you?
It was definitely a tough process, as any small business is, but we stuck to our guns. We know we have a great product, and we just, pushed through. Throughout the process, throughout the years of brewing, we were able to focus on the recipe and all of that. So that was already honed in on and perfected. And, getting it to the masses and getting the fill stations up and running and available to Rhode Island was our next step. So like I said, we built out a brewery in Pawtucket. That was in June. And then it did move very quick from there. So we started out at farmers markets, and actually Pawtucket is home to a great farmers market in the wintertime. It's at the Hope Artist Village, and so we're there every Saturday as well. So we started at farmers markets, and now these fill stations are at markets, cafes. You can find Luluna Kombucha on tap at Bayberry Beer Hall, which is great. A non-alcoholic option, a craft non-alcoholic option, which is so great. So the business has evolved a lot, but in a very organic way. So my partner and I, he's a very picky eater, I would say. And so when he tasted, my kombucha, he kind of pushed me out the door from my job in the corporate world and said, we got to do this. This is the time. So we've had a lot of fun, and we're still having a lot of fun bringing it to everyone. And yeah, it's been a great experience.
I mean, it really seems like that. And you and I talked about this a little bit, just what it's like being a small business and growing within the state and growing within Pawtucket. What's it like being part of a growing business in the Rhode Island community?
Yes, Rhode Island is a very supportive community, especially in the food business, beverages. There's a lot of food businesses, and it's because of these great farmers markets, these incubator kitchens like Hope in Maine and new ones popping up. There's a ton of demand, there's a ton of support, and that's why you see so many companies popping up in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's a tiny state, but the food scene is unbelievable, and I think Rhode Island is very proud of that. I'm very proud to be a Rhode Island food company. So yeah, it's definitely a fun place to start a business.
And you're a Rhode Islander yourself, so
I am.
That's always kind of nice when you can be local and you can support local yourself. So you started this not too long ago. You got up and running pretty quickly, and you're doing it. You and your business partner are doing this yourself. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about. It's 2018. It's a new year. You've kept it to somewhat local so far. What are your plans for? Do you have any expansion plans as we come up through 2018, 2019, looking forward into the future?
Sure. Yeah. So you'll see more fill stations popping up. We're at the farmers markets as well, and I think kombucha in general, you'll see it popping up a lot more places. Hopefully it'll be, a beverage where you can find it in like a baseball stadium, and it's just a healthy option that people enjoy. The palates of people, I think, are evolving away from the very sugary drinks and foods to something more, like kombucha is quite a little sour, and refreshing. So I think that you'll see kombucha in bars more, and definitely more accessible to the masses.
Definitely. Talk to us a little bit about your process, and for people that are still kind of like, oh, I've heard of it, but I don't necessarily know. And obviously, you don't have to give away your recipe, but talk to us just a little bit about your process, because like you said, it is like you use local ingredients, you try to be all organic, but you said tiny batches, never pasteurized, and never force carbonated. So talk to us just a little bit about what's important to you to make this the best product possible.
Sure. So kombucha is very different. They all vary in batches and brands. So if you don't like it right off the bat, it's good to try a different brand. But how we do it is a lot of kombuchas, unfortunately, they pasteurize their kombucha, and that gets rid of all the probiotics, and that's really one of the main reasons you're drinking kombucha in the first place, is to populate your gut with all these good, the good bacteria. And so we don't pasteurize our kombucha, and we also don't force carbonate our kombucha. So every bubble that you find in our kombucha is natural and, created there naturally. So we really try to stick to the authentic way of kombucha brewing rather than, drumming it up into something that it's not. So all of our ingredients are fresh, the way it's made is authentic. So it's a, great craft experience for kombucha. And they all vary, so it's good to try them all.
Okay, so let's try another one.
Sure.
You still have some of that one left. So this is Strawberry Fields left.
I'll pour you up.
And what's interesting is because there are major, and you talked about the trends on people's drinking trends, moving away from certain things, like the soda industry is changing and evolving, which I find it interesting that there is a mass soda producer that is involved in kombucha, which I read about that today, which I thought was super interesting. And then just different brands have different flavors and different things. Talk to us about how because you personally developed these flavors, and talk to us about how you decided you wanted to develop and you came up with these recipes and then your seasonal recipe as well.
Sure. So the seasonal recipe changes every few months or so. So we're always in the kitchen developing a new seasonal.
Which one is this?
So this one is Element. This is lemongrass, chamomile, peppermint, and lemon. So this is one of my favorites, very refreshing.
Sorry
light.
to cut you off, but
No problem. So I forget what we were talking about.
Developing the recipe. But I also want to say some kombuchas, doesn't matter what the flavor is, they all taste the same. You can definitely tell that these are different.
Right, they're all very unique in, what they provide. So I've learned that, at farmers markets, everyone's palate is so different. So each flavor, caters to different palates. Like blue ginger, this one is blueberry lemon ginger, so it has that kick of the ginger in there that a lot of people love. That's one of our most popular ones. So there's different, ones that you can gravitate to depending on what you're in the mood for or what you enjoy.
Is there, because you say you never pasteurize and you don't use forced carbonation, is there anybody that should avoid kombucha or that you think that shouldn't be drinking this?
I would say no. It's always good to try something new. Even toddlers drink kombucha. That's one of my favorite things to see is, little kids running around loving it. There's no one that should really steer clear of it. Of course, if you haven't had it before, I recommend, going into it slowly, drinking probably 8 ounces the first time, see how you feel. Not that anything bad would happen, but you're getting your gut used to this new bacteria. It's very, you see people later on in their life loving kombucha and drinking it all up. You see little toddlers drinking it. So it's really, for everyone, which is a great thing about the beverage.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about that. And then, like we've talked a little bit about too, is that gut health, because sometimes you find ones that are really sugary with like a lot of sugar content, and then also with the forced carbonation. Talk to us a little bit about specifically why it's important for you to make sure that you have those probiotics in there and the benefits for gut health.
Sure. So gut health is very important. It's a very big misconception that, you should only worry about it if you're later on in your life or if you already have an existing digestive issue. But there's actually more bacteria in your gut than there are cells on your body. So that is, a huge reason right there why you should be taking care of your gut. It influences everything from your immunity, your mood, and a lot of things. So, making sure your gut flora is happy and balanced is something that you shouldn't be, taking care of if you have an upset stomach, but on a daily basis, so you have a healthy body, healthy digestive system.
So really exciting. Congratulations on the startup and continued progress of Luluna Kombucha.
Thank you so much.
You can find it at several locations within Rhode Island, and then we're going to see expansion, like you said, Lucy,
Yes.
for 2018 and
Yes.
beyond. So we're excited to talk to you a little bit about it, so you can look at it, and we'll put a link on our website as well if you're interested in finding them at farmers markets and then at fill stations as well around the city and around Rhode Island. So congratulations
Thank
to
you
you.
so
Thanks for
much.
sharing the
Of
tasty
course,
beverage.
of
Delicious as always. So please hang tight here on Go Local Live as we get set up for our next guest.